everyone, my name is Ashley and today I will be doing my information presentation on African American criticism. First off, African American history and culture were excluded from all American education until the late 1960s when the Harlem Renaissance began to emerge, which is the rebirth of Black literature and culture. African American literature is considered to be the body of literature produced in the U.S. by writers of African descent. And African American criticism focuses on how texts of Black writers cannot and must not be judged with criteria derived from what they consider the white tradition, meaning that many African American writers would write their novels of first-hand experiences of what they dealt with through racism and segregation, and that they shouldn't be judged according to that. African American criticism follows 6 main beliefs, which includes everyday racism, interest convergence, socially constructed, different racialization, intersectionality, and voice of color. They also focus on historical recurring themes, sociological themes that reflect politics of Black experience, but the most prominent themes is oppression of racism, classism, and sexism. African American criticism is said to be very similar to feminist criticism in the sense that many African American women were always portrayed as a lesser value, as someone less than a person, and they're always being represented as the underpaid worker, the servant, and sometimes even the slave. So some key concepts that were consistent between university affiliated schools of thought that were similar in advantages was that it brings literature attention to African American writers. It allowed people to approach literature in a different way because African Americans had a different alternative way of writing. It also lets readers see the way that African Americans have dealt through racism and segregation throughout their life. And some disadvantages that were similar was that it could bring out very negative attention and criticism when they were not being portrayed in a positive light, but rather in a negative light. But the most important theorist of this criticism was Henry Louis Gates Jr., who was very influential during this time. He insisted that African American literature be viewed as a form of language rather than culture or practice. He argued that Black theorists used the most sophisticated contemporary theories and practices to redefine the language of critical theory and to allow Black language to enter an academic disclosure and help disclose prejudice and ethnic differences in literature. Also, Toni Morrison, who was a believer in the pursuit of African American identity, especially through her vividly told novels. One award-winning novel that she had was Beloved, that talks about the struggle of an African American slave after the American Civil War and the struggles he had to overcome in order to escape slavery. Also, African American criticism that can relate in sync to children's literature is that there have been many children's books now published that honor and speak to African American criticism, because now it fits in the way that they tell real life experiences that we can actually relate to. And some books of that is One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams, The Rock River by Kekla Magoon, and Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. And that concludes my presentation, everyone. Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write in the discussion post. Thank you.